Ciao, buongiorno. Da bin ich wieder mit einer neuen Episode zum Thema Chianti Classico. Ich bin Nina und ich liebe Chianti Classico und wie immer will ich dich mitnehmen in meine Chianti Classico Welt und dich teilhaben lassen an Gesprächen mit Winzern, an meinen Eindrücken hier im Chianti und dir so viel wie möglich über Chianti Classico erzählen. Heute besuche ich Piero Lanza auf seinem Weingut Poggerino in Radda in Chianti. Poggerino liegt nur wenige Autominuten vom Ortskern von Radda entfernt, in einem kleinen Tal, könnte man sagen. Wenn man von der Straße zum Weingut abbiegt, ist es fast wie wenn man sich in eine andere Welt begeben würde. Ich kann schwer beschreiben, was dieses Gefühl auslöst. Vielleicht, weil auf Poggerino ein ganz besonderer Geist herrscht. Ich versuche Piero regelmäßig zu besuchen und immer, wenn wir aufeinandertreffen, reden wir zuerst mal über das Wetter. Und das nicht als Smalltalk, denn Piero beschäftigt sich intensiv mit dem Wettergeschehen und hat auch ein großes Erinnerungsvermögen dafür. Das wiederum ermöglicht ihm auch, die Veränderungen unseres Lebensraums besser zu verstehen. Aber selbstverständlich reden wir auch über Wein, über Chianti Classico und vieles, vieles mehr. Man könnte sagen, über Gott und die Welt. Ich lade dich hiermit ein, mir und meinem Gespräch mit Piero zu folgen. Und weil Piero leider kein Deutsch spricht, habe ich dieses Gespräch mit ihm auf Englisch geführt. Buongiorno, Piero.
Buongiorno.
Thank you for being here with me for a new podcast show. We are sitting here at your winery in Poggerino in Radda in Chianti, and we're sitting on the terrace of your new tasting room, which is for me totally new. I think for you more, it's longer. Since when does you have this tasting room, this very nice tasting room?
This is a new project. It's the last project we just finished last spring, and we really need to have a place like that where we have the cellar, because we have a space inside with a big table. We can also heat and cool down inside, so if it's too hot we can cool down, so we can taste wine at perfect temperature.
Perfect.
But if the weather is like today, we can be outside with our clients and taste and also eat something, because we have also a kitchen where we can cook easy food just to match with our wines.
Perfect. I think it's your sister who is cooking, because she's famous for his kitchen.
Yeah,
I heard from some friends.
She's famous. We have also a bed and breakfast in the winery that is not here. Is 500 meters up on the hill, where we have 12 rooms, and my sister, she cooks fantastic breakfast with cakes, vegetables that come from our vegetable garden.
Oh, perfect.
Everything great.
And I know the people are also, because we have some friends, they are always staying here for holiday, and they enjoy a lot also when Benedetta is doing the cena, the dinner for them. So
sometimes we do
happy.
also that, and we have a project also in this terrace to do apericena for our clients, also for someone else that come from outside, because the sun go down in front of us, and so it's very fantastic nice. At 7 o'clock to do apericena here.
Wow, perfetto. When I think of Poggerino and you, Piero, the following three keywords come to my mind. Radda in Chianti, the concrete egg, and the weather. Because every time when we see each other, you can tell me exactly how the weather has been over the past month and weeks. But before we start, following the title of my podcast, For a Glass of Wine with Nina in Chianti, we have a glass wine by our side. What do we have in the glass?
This is I offer to you my best wine, that is the Chianti Classico Riserva Bugialla. Bugialla is the name of the vineyard where this wine come from. Actually, Bugialla is the name of a medieval church that we have in the building where we have the bed and breakfast. But yes, it's a very old name. If you look the old map of the area, you don't find Poggerino, you find Bugialla, because it's 12th century church. It's a very historical name. But it's also the name of the vineyard that is the oldest vineyard I have in the winery. It's 35 years old vineyards. South face, very rocky ground, very high altitude, and in this vineyard I select the best bunch of grape to make this wine.
And the grape is of course Sangiovese.
The grape is 100% Sangiovese, different clones.
Perfect.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so let's try the
Cheers.
wine.
Cheers. Cheers. This wine is aged for 2 years in big barrels of Slavonian oak. The barrels are made in Austria because Austria have a great tradition of big to make
barrels.
Big barrels. Yes,
that's true.
And yes, what I try to put together in this wine is a wine that is quite easy to drink in a medium short time, but it's a wine can age also for years. Sometimes I open bottle of this wine of 20-25 years old, and the wine is fantastic.
Still alive. Still,
yes, absolutely.
Still funny to drink.
Absolutely, yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
So a good potential for the Sangiovese.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
And you are also Sangiovese lover, I think.
Yes, I am. If we want, we can speak a day about Sangiovese.
Let's do it once. We should do once. Could be a good idea. First of all, I want to give a little overview about the Poggerino winery. Poggerino is a family business. You, as we mentioned before, Piero and Benedetta, your sister. You run the winery and the attached agriturismo. The Poggerino estate is about 43 hectares, of which about 12 hectares are planted with wines. Sangiovese is the big player here. We talked about a few words. And you have just 1 hectare planted with Merlot. The rest is all Sangiovese. If you look at the vineyards of Poggerino with a little distance, the shape of the vineyards remind you of an open book. And all is framed by a lot of woods. Piero, can you tell us a little about what makes the terroir of Poggerino so special for you?
Yes, in Poggerino we have a very special combination of ground and climate that put together help me to make very good wines. So I always say that the quality of my wine come 70% maybe from the land where I work and 30% from the job I do in the vineyard and in the cellar.
So the main part is for you the ground, the soil.
You can put all the energy and the technique you want in a land, but if the land is not able to bring grape with complexity, so wine with complexity, you will always know you will always produce quite boring wine. Here we first of all we are quite high. We have vineyard between 400 to 500 meters high. We have a lot of forest around the vineyards, and this is very important because the forests produce oxygen during the night, and this helps to bring down the temperature during the night. So the combination of altitude and forest bring hot days but very cool nights.
Which is important for fruity, for
Absolutely,
complexity.
because the grape, especially this happened from now to the harvest, so the grape can ripe slowly, so the skin builds slowly, and the tannins, that is most of the taste that you have in a red wine, are very elegant, and these translate in elegance, in sweetness, in the wines, and also acidity and flavor. So this slow ripening, we have almost 80 days from the veraison, so when the grapes start to change color, to the harvest. This slow ripening of the grape bring this great complexity in the grape. But also we have a quite rocky ground. We have a schist called galestro, that together with clay bring a lot of minerality. We have a lot of minerals, so these minerals become food for the roots of the vines, and so you get also this minerality in the wine, especially when the wine age. After a few years they are in the bottle.
Nice to say it's food for the wines.
Yeah,
I'm
nice. Sorry, it's not about it.
It's very
just
not now. It's very good to understand what's happening. So it's perfect.
Yeah.
But you have your own climate, let me say, here, because Poggerino is in a valley, let me say, very close to the city of Rada, and Rada is also very famous for the wines here. Many very high named wineries are located here in Rada. And what is special for Rada in Chianti, comparing to other villages here in Chianti?
It is a combination of few things. Well, first of all, I must say that 87% of the Rada land is forest. So 87%. So if you will go on Google Map and you see Rada, you will see that there are vineyards, but there is a lot of forest all around the vineyards. So this gap of temperature I have, most of the winery of Rada have. It is high anyway, because Rada village is 550 meters, and the average level of the vineyards of Rada it's quite high. It's from 400 to 600 meters high, and also we have a very special microclimate, because we have we have many deep hills all around, and this bring a very continental climate. So it's not only a question of altitude, because there are other areas of other village of Chianti Classico that are as high as Rada, but the place where we are with all these hills around bring really a microclimate that again it's one of the coolest area of the Chianti Classico, and this is important, especially now where we are a weather that is warmer and warmer.
And Rada is famous for the elegance of the wines in general, we can say. Exactly. Of course, there are always different types, because each winery has a philosophy, its own terroir, of course. But in general, we can say the wines of Rada are very elegant, and they are very long lasting, so you can keep them very long.
Absolutely. And this comes from this low ripening, because it's hot and cool. But also there is something else. I think it's important that I like to say. We are in Rada. We have an association of producer. We are 24 people. 24 wineries, and we really help each other. I mean, we are the name is Vignaioli di Rada, and we share our ideas. We taste together our wines.
Do you do that blind tasting?
We do blind tasting, or sometimes blind, sometimes not blind. But I think it's important to explain to the others our problems and try to increase the quality in this way. So we share very much our ideas, and this bring also in this way also the winery that maybe in the past was not doing a great wine, they can improve in quality and they can grow. So we grow all together.
And which is also very important, because I did a podcast with Giovanni Manetti as the president of the Consortium Chianti Classico concerning the newer milestone, let me say, for the Chianti Classico appellation, the UGA, Unità Geografica Aggiuntiva.
Yes.
And so it's very important that now Rada, especially, let me say, because we are here in Rada, has to improve the expression of Rada, that the consumer can understand why it's written on the bottle Rada as additional. So I think this is very important, then that you work together, the vignaioli, the producers, to have a common expression of Rada.
Absolutely. Then after that, of course, each of us produce his style, different quality wine, but we all have the idea of quality that come from the job in the vineyard. After that, some of us use big barrels, others they use barrique. We ferment in a little bit different way, but the style of the land is in all the 24 glass of the producer.
This is a very good point you're now mentioning, because I know for you, especially the work in the vineyards is for you a very it's important to do a good quality in the cellar after and to have a good wine. Why?
Well,
because I know you are very precise.
Well, I always say when people come and visit me, the first thing I do with them, if it's not raining, of course, is to go in the vineyard.
Yes.
Because I always say that my wines are made in a vineyard. So I'm lucky because I am in a so amazing land, but this for me it's a way to work very hard to try to get the best from this land. So a key word in the vineyard for me is balance. If the vineyards are balanced, the grape is balanced and the wines are balanced.
Okay.
So to get this, it's easy to say, it's much more difficult to do. So my job is to observe the vines, the vineyards, and do little things to try to get this balance. And what I do in a vineyard doesn't mean that I do in another vineyard. Each vineyard has a different age, has a different percentage of clay and stones. So I have to work a little bit different vineyard by vineyard. So this is the biggest part of my job. If I get the balance and if I am able to pick a ripe and good grape in the cellar, everything is very easy.
So you're doing wellness for your vineyards. You're responsible for the wellness, for the benessere, for the vineyards. So that everybody is happy to be here, every plant.
This is why also is more than 15 years that we are certified organic.
Okay.
And the reason why I decide to be organic, the main reason was because I believe that the land is mine on a piece of paper, but the land is of everybody. So when we do the job, we must do less pollution is possible. So this is the first thing. The second thing is that we are having more and more extreme climate condition.
Yeah.
And so doing organic in the vineyards help to get the vines more reactive to this extreme climate condition. So stronger, the roots are deeper, so This helps to produce at the end better wines, also in difficult vintage.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
So you say it's also because of organic farming. So very interesting to hear.
Yeah.
You produce here several products. And for once, I'll start my list from the back, let me say. You have a very typical olive oil. You do a very special spumante, sparkling wine, with pure Sangiovese. Aurora is your rosé wine. And aurora means down, the beautiful colors of the sunrise in the morning.
Exactly, yes.
Labirinto is slightly like the red wine, from 100% Sangiovese as well. Ideal in summertime, I think. A little bit cooled, and then you can drink it on a hot terrace, let me say. Prima Materia, let me say, is your Super Tuscan.
Yes.
It's half Sangiovese and half Merlot.
Yes.
Then you have your Bugialla, which we have today in our class. It's the Chianti Classico Reserva you mentioned before. And then you produce two types, let me say, of Chianti Classico. I say always the regular one Chianti Classico, which is done in oak barrels, very traditional, in a very traditional way. You don't use barrique or smaller barrels. You just use the big one. But you are doing another Chianti Classico. It's called Nuovo, which means new in Italian. But if you keep the N away, uovo, there's ovo, and ovo is the egg. So you do the wine in a very special egg, which is from the material of this egg is concrete. And I will never forget the first time I visited you, and you went with me through the vineyards, as you mentioned before. Then we went to the cellar, and you let me taste first the Chianti Classico from the barrel, and then you let me taste the Chianti Classico from the egg. And I will never forget what happened with me, positive things. Can you explain what are you doing with this concrete egg? Well, and how large it is? And
the concrete egg is 650 liters, so it's quite small.
Yeah.
The wine I put in, it's Sangiovese, 100% Sangiovese, and it is a selection of Sangiovese. I try to explain better. I have in Poggerino about 20 different clones of Sangiovese.
Wow,
20.
Wow.
Yeah, 20 that I am able almost to harvest separately, also because they ripe a different time.
Mm-hmm.
When we're close to harvest, wait 2-3 days, 4 days more or less, can make a big difference in the quality of the grapes, so of the wine. So I go in the vineyard, I taste the grape, and from the tasting I realize, okay, this vineyard, this clone is ready to be picked. We harvest all separately, and so at the end of the harvest, I have many, at the end, of the fermentation, I have many tanks where there is wine inside, and I always pick the best tank of that year. So the Bugialla Riserva we was drinking before, it's a single vineyard and it's a selection of the single vineyard. So it's a crew that come every year from that vineyard. The Nuovo, it's a selection of a clone from a vineyard. So some year can be a vineyard, other year can be another vineyard. It depends basically how is the climate. Some years for different combination of climate, I make better wine from that parcel, another year from another parcel. So it's a selection. The wine is fermented in concrete tanks, and after the fermentation is aged in the concrete egg. That the wine touch the egg, so the wine touch the concrete, so there is not resin inside the concrete, so the wine can get some oxygen during the aging. But the most important part of the aging of the egg is that for the shape of the egg, the wine inside has always a slow moving from the bottom to the top. It's a physical moving, and so the fine sediments that are in the wine, they never settle down. They're always together with the wine. So this so it's basically a slow batonnage, very slow batonnage, but it's 24 hours a day for 1 year is the time the wine stay in the egg. And so this, I like to say that egg increase the terroir of the wine. So a wine that come from a great terroir as my land, the egg multiplies this taste.
Yes, I can confirm.
So it's an increasing of terroir, and so the wine is very vertical, is very very straight. It's really an example of Sangiovese with no filter of the amazing land of Radda.
And you told me that you are buying every year a new egg, so now you have 4, as if I am informed. So I think the people like as well the wine from the egg. Do you have an idea why? Is it a trend, or is it because they are curious for?
I think it's a combination of things. Well, first of all, the quality. The wine is very good, and is very special. I always say that my marketing is to explain to people that we do something of different, something that is not able to be made from other areas or from other wineries with our style. So if when people get in love for our style, they rebuy the wine. Yeah. So this is the first reason. It's unique wine. So you like it, you buy. Maybe some people don't like because they don't like that style. Doesn't matter. They buy something else. Yes, yeah. But for me, it's important that it's something of unique. Is when you go to when you buy a jacket of Armani, for example. Yeah. Of course, every year the jacket is the style is a little bit different because the fashion changed, but the style is there. You recognize like that come from that. Another thing, another reason why people buy this wine is because there is an interesting story behind. Okay. Mm-hmm. So people like also new things, and when I explained that the wine is made in this strange strange tank that I call egg, of course they get curious. So it's a combination of things, but always first of all the wine must be good.
Yeah,
otherwise the people don't reorder.
I can personally say from my part, I love the wine because for me the Sangiovese has his perfect expression. It is so fruity, but nice tannins, the perfect acidity. For me, it's a very, very perfect interpretation, product of Sangiovese grape, let me say. I love it.
Thank you.
I have to say. We have already talked a lot about terroir today. What does terroir mean to you? Which factors are for terroir? Because we spoke about the ground, but it's not only the ground, the terroir.
Terroir is the combination of ground and climate that put together. They help the grape, the vineyards to have taste in the grape, because the ground is fantastic. So as I was saying before, we have these rocks that there are so many minerals, and this again is food that the roots can get, and this translates in complexity, but also of course the the microclimate. So the combination of climate and ground bring elegance in the wines and
so we can
and
say
the style of our wines.
So we can say weather in the last sense is also a part of the terroir.
Yeah.
And I can say you are my Chianti Classico weather expert. Because always when I'm coming to Poggerino, visiting you, we talk about the weather situation in the last weeks and months. And you can say me always exactly what happened and what are the what were you following with these often problems when it's too less rain or if there has been hail. Could you tell us a little bit what is the weather situation this year for you?
Well, the you know, in this job we can do our best, but if the weather is no good, is difficult to make to produce good
it's the
wines.
hand of God.
And probably 70% of the quality of a vintage comes in the last 2 months, from August and July until and September, early October, when we harvest. So you know, of course, what I'm looking for is always a summer that is not too hot. With some rain, sometimes some rain, but it's difficult that we always have this. So, what can I say? Our job is try to do the best and to be reactive in the vineyard with the weather we have. I can do 2 examples. 2014, we had lots of rain. And so our job was to reduce the quantity of grape on the vines, to help the vines to ripe the grape they had, and take out all the leaves around the bunch of grape to get the low sun we had. And at the end the quality was good. It was not the best vintage we made, but the quality at the end was good.
Was very good, yeah.
And another vintage like 17, that was the opposite. We had the long and dry and hot, dry, hot summer. We didn't take at all the leaves around the bunch. So there is not a way to manage the vineyards. We must follow the weather and be reactive to do the right thing at the right time with the weather condition we have. What I can say is that in the last few, I would say 15 years, we are having more and more up and down climate situation. So very, very, very hot, very cold. For example, this year we had a very warm March, 27 degree March. It's crazy. And then we had all Europe actually had big frost in April.
Yes.
We didn't have damage here because it's cool. As it's cool, Radda, during the summer, hot, cool nights. It's very cool during the winter. It's much cooler than other areas. So the buds was not open when we have the frost.
So you have been lucky that you are a little bit behind,
absolutely,
let me say.
Absolutely, yes. But yes, we had these crazy nights in April, -6, -7, and 20 days before in March was 27. Okay. Or we have lots of rain and then no rain for 2 months. So we must get used to work with this weather. The general trend is on the way of the heating. So it's much warmer than in the past. And of course, for this land was a big advantage because it's a cool area.
Yeah.
So, but I can tell you that when I started to make wine, my first vintage was 1988, until 86, for me, was difficult to get the minimum amount of sugar in the grape to do 12.5 of alcohol. It was very difficult. And 27 was the change, the 97 was the year the weather started to change. And now we work to try to have much less, we try to have less sugar, because easily we can get wine with 15.5. So except 14, that was a very unusual vintage, but I keep much more grape on the vines than in the past. And if I take out the grape from the vines, I take out later and this also help me to slow down a little bit the ripening of the grape.
So when we have been talking, let me see, 15, 20 years ago to do a green harvest, so what means to put away green grapes?
When the grapes start to change colors, yes.
This is now something you stop to do.
Now we don't do any more. We don't touch the grape until the first week of September, when the grape is completely dark, not ripe, of course, to make a red wine. But we take out some grape from the vineyards in that time between I would say the 5th to the 10th of September. And the good thing is that grape we bring at home, and we produce our sparkling rosé and some of our normal rosé. Yeah. So to do that, of course, you must get the condition to have stronger vines that are able to keep going with the ripening of the grape, even if they have lots of weight on the shoulder. So like 2.5, 3 kilos of grape for plants. So we work in that way in different, for example, we never cut the canopy. We roll everything. And this is a better, is a more natural approach we have with the vineyards. And the vineyards are less stressed, and they can keep going with more grape during the month of August. And then September, the days are shorter, it's not so hot anymore, so we take out some grape for the vines, and the grape that stay on the vines can go on with the ripening until late September, and that's when we start the harvest of the Chianti Classico.
So up to now, we are now middle July. You are happy with this year, with the weather situation of 21? Or
at the moment, everything is perfect.
Okay. So
I would say maybe.
Let's cross the fingers.
Too perfect.
Oh, okay.
But the wait's very, very, very long until we don't have the grape in the tank. I don't like to say
everybody.
How it's going to be.
No. I just want, because the grapes, I know every producer says, okay, now only when I have the grapes in the cellar, I can tell you what is the vintage, not one day before.
But I must say that some producer I know, they already had damage in the vineyard with hail, with frost.
Also here in Rada has been the hail?
No, in Rada no. But so for them it's already tough.
Yes.
And so at the moment everything is going very well, but we have quite a lot of grape, and the grape is good. But
so let's cross the fingers.
It's a long way.
Let's cross the fingers because I think this year could be the harvest a little bit later. Because
yes, we was at the start of the growing season. We was a month behind. I always take photos of the same vineyard when the buds open. And then I take every week to understand, to compare the vintage before. And we was 1 month exactly later. Now we are a week.
Okay.
a week later.
So nature is running.
Nature is incredible. Nature, the vineyards are able to rebalance everything. I was quite worried about during the flowering time, because we had some bunch that was in flowering, other bunch finished, other one bunch had to start. So there was a big difference in the same plant of the ripening of the grape, and now this difference is closer and closer.
Very
so it's I think it's it's a week maybe. I think will be a harvest of late September, early October. That is perfect.
So let's cross the fingers that you will have a good harvest, a good time until the harvest, and we will celebrate if you have the grapes for 21, for the vintage 21 in your cellar. And then perhaps I come back and we do another podcast show to speak about what happened in the meantime, let me say.
Fantastic.
Grazie, Piero.
Thank you very much
for your time, and thanks for all the impressions you gave us today about Poggerino, your philosophy, and the weather in the past weeks and months. Grazie.
Thank you very much, and thank you for this interview, and to give me the opportunity to speak a little bit about my job, about the vineyards, and that is my love.
Yes, and we could hear it. Thank you. Grazie.
Thank you, bye.
Naja, mal sehen. Vielleicht nehmen Piero und ich die Idee auf und machen sozusagen ein Audio-Wetter-Tagebuch aus dem Chianti. Mal sehen, was die Zukunft bringt. Ich hoffe, es war auch wieder Interessantes für dich dabei. Ich persönlich finde das Beton nach wie vor sensationell. Und natürlich auch den Chianti Classico Nuovo dazu, der ja aus diesem besonderen Ei kommt. Wie immer findest du in den Shownotes den Link zum Wein, den wir heute im Glas hatten. Und natürlich findest du auf meiner Website viele Informationen und Bilder über Piero und sein Weingut Poggerino. Wenn du aber noch Fragen haben solltest, die sich vielleicht in dieser Podcast-Episode für dich ergeben haben oder überhaupt zum Thema Chianti Classico, dann kannst du mir gerne eine Nachricht dazu senden. Auch diesen Link findest du wie immer in den Shownotes. Wenn dir mein Podcast gefällt, dann kannst du diesen auch abonnieren. Das würde mich natürlich freuen. Wie immer hoffe ich, dass ich auch dich heute mitnehmen konnte in meine Chianti Classico Welt. Denn das ist meine Passion, mein Auftrag. So fühle ich es zumindest. Bis zum nächsten Mal hoffentlich. Ich freue mich auf dich. Ciao, a presto.
Chianti Wein, da duft einen ein, drum schenkt ihm Gläslein,